I will please you so you stay happy with me. I will please you so you will not get upset with me. But if that's no longer pleasing to you, it's not, I'm not just doing it because it's a gesture of niceness or a gesture of, love. I'm doing it because I want something in return. And whenever you
Oh,
do
yeah.
something with the intent of getting something in return, that's manipulation. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Man. I am Chris Bailey. I'm here with Brad Valencia, and we want to talk to you about something that's pretty pervasive. That it's probably not talked a lot about in men's circles, but that's about being a passive husband. I don't know, Brad, if you all are seeing it much at all, but I know that certainly it's something that we have seen a lot of. I see a lot of, and I have been. The confessions of a recovering passive husband.
No, I'm like super stoked about this episode because I want to hear your story on this, because I do think that I've seen it. I don't know if like the people we coach,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I've seen it right now that they're passive, but where they are now is because the husband was very passive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested. I want to hear this. I'm excited.
Well, yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Because that's one of the consequences, right? One of the fallouts is you get this challenge first of whether being a doormat or being a big jerk. Right. A lot of guys just, I can't find this medium or this middle place. Either I just got to shut up and happy wife, happy life, or I'm a big jerk and not making anybody, I'm just upsetting everybody and just causing a mess of the things. But so, and that was where I was at. And certainly that doesn't build a lot of good feelings in the relationship. not a lot of goodwill.
Yeah, exactly.
And and also it wears some respect.
Yes.
Right. Just make a decision. Why can't you just say where you want to go or what you want to do? Why do I have to find out later on that you were like, well, I wanted to do that, but I didn't say anything. It's
I wanted to go over there to eat, but whatever.
Yeah.
We can eat here.
But you didn't say anything. Why didn't you say anything? And then, right. And then, we'll break this down. But, and then it's like, okay, you treat me like I'm some sort of ogre. You treat me like I'm the bad person.
Yeah.
From our wives.
Yeah.
And we believe that they are.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. We believe that they are, and that's why we do what we do. And that's not good for relationships either.
No, absolutely not. Like, you're just so nervous, right? That you're like, no, whatever you want to do. I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm just the martyred husband sitting in the corner that does nothing I want to do. It's not a big deal. Right.
No, absolutely. Well, and actually that's funny. You said the sitting in the corner. Being a child of the 80s, myself, I don't know if you are familiar with the band REM. They had a popular song in the late 80s called Losing My Religion.
Yeah.
And that's me in the corner, that's me in the spotlight, losing my religion, trying to keep up with you. And I told my friends, I'm like, that's a love song. That's about, they're like, what are you talking about? This is like, whatever there is. And then they had Michael, I forget his last name, Snipes. They had an interview with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, it's about relationship. It's about, because that's exactly it. Wow. That's me in the corner. I'm in the spotlight. I'm losing my religion. Because I said too much. Oh no, I said too much. I haven't said enough, or oh no, I said too much. I've set it up. Yeah. Right. And so, it just starts this decay, this bad, snowball kind of effect. And it's, it's not good, man. It's not good.
I've heard that song. So I'm a child of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that young. I am young. I'm younger than you. I'm not that young.
We're not that young.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
But
Vanilla Ice.
I do remember that song. I do remember that song. REM. I mean, that was good. I've never heard the song like you're saying though. So I was probably well, also I was fairly young when that song came out. But I did grow up in the 80s.
You weren't in college. Is that what you're saying?
I wasn't in college. No, I wasn't in college yet. Wasn't in high school yet either. So.
Okay, we can stop there. That's all right. We don't have to keep going.
So I just thought, from my super young perspective, I thought it sounded cool, but also I was scared to listen to it because it said like I'm losing my religion. I'm like, wait a minute, right? I can't listen to that and then go to church.
Yeah,
what's going on?
We'll get a hypocrite in mug.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, you want me to spoil another song for you?
Please.
Supertramp, Take the Long Way Home.
Okay.
Are you familiar with it? Take the long way home, right? That's about a marriage breaking down and falling apart. I was
really,
because Jamie and I, that was one of those songs that we'd listen to with the convertible top down, driving around, because it's right. It's kind of a right. So it's a kind of a cool cruising song. Yeah. Well, and I was listening to the words, and and I'm like, yeah, only see what you want to see, forever playing to the gallery. Yeah, that's absolutely what we do in our marriages.
Wow.
That's absolutely what we're doing in our marriages. This playing or presenting our case to this unseen gallery, and so I'm going to take the long way home, right? These guys, well, I'm just going to head to work and stay at work a little longer, or I'm not in a hurry to get the home, and then your wife thinks you're part of the furniture, and just, right. Just what things we hear in the relationship, what you just sit there, you don't ever do anything, well, now it's, if that was written today, it's just now, you're sitting there on your device, right? You scroll on your phone. But that was kind of the same idea. So I tell Jamie this, she's like, yeah, you ruined that song for me. I don't think I ever want to listen to that song.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. It's like, no, it's a good song, but I don't want to hear it anymore.
No, now it's sad.
Ignorance is bliss in some music. Some music, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Supertramp will now sue us because I've just lost. They're going to be dropped off of Spotify because people are like, no, never more, no more.
Cancel culture. Here we go.
But anyway, so here's the right. So the problem with being the passive husband, because that's what I am, I am a recovering pleaser. I'm certainly recovering being a passive husband and just afraid of, taking the wrong move and making the wrong step, because I would start a problem, or I'd start a fight, or someone wouldn't be happy with me. And so I just needed to, how can I, make everybody happy? How can I keep dancing around and staying a step or two ahead of everybody, so that way they can be, happy, they can be pleased, that they could be, happy with me and not feel like I blew it, which it's exhausting. It really is. It's
I'm sure would it be like walking around on eggshells?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I was joking around with Jamie. I was like Kung Fu. I was so good at walking on the eggshells, I could go across them without cracking a one.
And so maybe this is jumping way ahead.
Yeah, no, that's right.
But
jump around? Sure.
Right?
Okay.
That's weird. Yeah. That's another good song, but that was from really my high school days. And there's nothing about that song that's crazy. It's literally just jumping around. Yeah. Simpler days. Yeah. No, was everything like quote unquote perfect from your wife's eyes, from Jamie's eyes?
She had no idea. Oh, that's a great question, because she had no idea that I was doing what I was doing. Here, this is a joke we've made in the past. I had gone from Greece to Japan and back just to make sure everybody had the lunch that they wanted to eat. Now we were at Epcot, so it was
easy.
So yeah, so we're not, but but the funny thing is nobody knew that I was doing that, and kind of I don't, panic is too strong, but kind of there's that anxious kind of like, okay, well, let's make sure everybody can gets their food, because we're all right, you'll go here and I'll go over there and I'll walk over there, I'll get this, I'll bring it back here, and they just thought, okay, cool, whatever, they didn't realize. And I did the same thing when we were in Disney World, where like some people are eating at Pinocchio's, whatever, and going back to Starlight, and then cafe, and then can bring it back. Nobody knew that was a stress thing for me, and I was doing it for that, because in fact, actually, after conversations later on, it's like, no, if you said something, I would have just been cool and would have just found something here.
Well, and that's interesting, because like from the outside perspective, it would be like, oh, wow, like he's showing love, right? It's not so much like he's trying to necessarily please everyone. It's more of like, oh, you don't have to have the, I don't know, hot dog at Pinocchio's. I don't know why that's but sounds like that would be there, right? You don't have to have
because of the nose thing.
Because the nose, you don't have to have the lion hot dog, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, hold the relish.
Hold the relish. But we're gonna eat here. But you know what? While they want that, I'll go grab you, wherever else. I haven't been there in years, but I'll go grab you a burger from over here, or whatever you want that you would like to have. Where like immediate on the surface, I'd be like, oh, that's cool, because you're just trying to, yes, please people, but to me, it's more of a loving thing, right? Like a serving thing, right? But
on the surface, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's the goal, but not necessarily the motivation.
Yeah. Wow.
Because the motivation is, and I actually, we were doing a retreat, and there was a pleaser, and I was, I wasn't like bashing pleasers, because recovering pleaser. So, no big deal. But he was like, what's wrong with being a pleaser? What's wrong with trying to please people? I'm like, hey, nothing. That's great. As long as your heart is just to please them. Right. But when you can't, or when they don't respond the way that you want them to respond, then you're not going to please, right? It's okay to serve out of service, right, out of love, or doing it onto the Lord. Absolutely good things. But my pleasing had a hidden motivation, at least for myself, that was kind of like, if definitely from you, but at least for myself, maybe, that I will please you so you stay happy with me. I will please you so you'll not get upset with me. But if that's no longer pleasing to you, it's not, I'm not just doing it because it's a gesture of niceness or a gesture of, love. I'm doing it because I want something in return. And whenever you do something with the intent of getting something in return, that's manipulation. Right. And it wasn't premeditated. It wasn't conscious. It was really more of like, how can I keep them happy? How can I keep there from being problems? How can I keep there from being arguments, or conflict? Because these emotions, I don't want to, I don't like those emotions. Those are scary for me. I don't know how to deal with them. So I think that's where a lot of husbands get into, well, a lot of passive people, but the husbands, they get this mindset. Well, I can't bring this up to my wife, or I can't say this or all that, because then it's just going to cause all these problems. And so I just got to keep it to myself. Right. And all this, one of the reasons why it causes problems later on is it creates resentment, because I can't say this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a point for you that it boiled over, where you just finally got to the point of like, I'm done with going from passive to crazy, right? Well, just like blowing up, like it's been bottled up so much.
Sure.
That, that one, whatever you did, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm done with this. I can't be passive anymore. I can't hold this in anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that's the sad part about a lot of relationships, is there will be a passive person, passive partner, that will hold it in. And instead of blowing it up and letting, blowing up and letting it come to the surface and then dealing with it, which they do a lot, but there's a good amount that will just pull away from the relationship and get involved into another relationship, or just say this one's over, and the other person didn't even see it coming. Right? They didn't even know there was a problem because they didn't bring it up.
Because on their side, everything's been perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We've been doing what I wanted to do. I thought you seemed like you were happy. You seemed like you were happy to go get, stuff from Japan. You seemed like this was something you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Where all along, now I was doing it just to make sure that there wasn't the problems. And now that there's problems, well, look at all that I do, and you don't even care that I do all this. And that's where that kind of where's some ulterior motives there? Because if I have to pull that out as like a list of things that I do that no one asked me to do, right? As a defense for something, well, then how much am I doing that out of love? How much am I doing that out of caring? And not to mention, then that was a great question, because it's loaded with a lot of different dynamics. There is that blow up where, where it does come as a surprise. Where even if it doesn't break apart the relationship. Yeah. And it's not like it's over. There's nothing we can do. I don't want to see anybody, because absolutely have heard that. And, and there's no, we're just getting divorced and there's no way to restore it. So that absolutely have heard that. But when there is the blow up, it's so quick. It's like that scene from the Avengers when Banner turns into the Hulk. Yeah. Or it's like, it's like, don't you need to suit up? That's my secret. I'm always angry.
I'm always angry.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, seeing, this just okay. Boom. And like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Gosh. Well, so like that could be on your spouse, but also could you be taking out, because I haven't dealt with this. This is actually one area I haven't dealt with, because I've dealt with a lot of areas. This is one I have never.
This is the one.
This is the one. But have you seen, or did you ever take it out on your kids?
Oh yeah.
Like where, you're the passive husband for your wife, but then when the kids, it was like, no, I am not passive anymore. This is, like almost like you're balancing.
Sure. Yeah. I can't say this to her, but, but if you try to pull the same stuff, let's, engage the foot, the foot is going down. So, and, and a little shame to say that, right? Because there was probably a little out of balance.
Yeah.
Of a response versus a loving response, more of a that's where some of that stuff was going to.
Yeah.
And, and that's part of growth, part of recognizing, hey, this is what's going on. So I need to get a handle on this. I need to figure this out. So yeah, that's I am ashamed to say that, to bring that up, that there was absolutely certain times where my response or reaction to the kids may have been stronger than what the situation may have actually called for, because of some of that pent up stuff. That's
absolutely.
Like, hey, your mom can get away with that, but
not you.
not you. Don't you?
You're gonna eat that hot dog at Pinocchio's
with the relish.
With the relish. No, it just. I mean, I think I see, because I see. You could almost, well, at least in my experience, I've seen where I can almost pick out that passive husband when I even at church, when I meet couples and I see their kids, you can kind of like see, or after you meet them a few times, you can kind of, I mean, you see that it's almost a stronger personality at some point, one spouse has that, but I'm kind of guarded on saying that, because if you meet Lisa and I for the very first time, I don't talk that much.
Right.
Because it's not because I'm passive. It's because I'm sitting there kind of reading what's going on. And I'm truly an introvert. That's like there's no two ways around it. people don't believe that when I tell them that, but I'm like, yes, I do have my quota of people. And if I'm in a new place, like, I don't really want to meet a lot of people. Like, no. My wife, on the other hand, is like, hey, like, welcome to church. How's it going? What's up? My name's Lisa. This is my, I'm like,
She has her own name tag she just throws on.
yeah, exactly. Which is great. It's so great. But I won't talk as much as soon as I meet people. But after you get to kind of know them, then you're like, oh yeah, I could see that you're probably kind of passive. Right. But I haven't seen it in the way you're saying. That's why I think it's so interesting where, the pleasing side of it, I've seen it more in the almost apathetic
Right.
side of it.
Yeah.
Right. Where they just don't do anything.
Yeah. Which actually can, which absolutely can get there, because it is that that dynamic of, okay, I can't say something without causing the wrong thing. It's that losing my religion. So that's just me in the corner. I'm just, I'm in the spotlight. Can't say too much because I'll set it up. And so I've got to just pull back. And so there's those, start to self-protect by distancing, by detaching, and, not engaging, and that's where some of that respect starts to break down, because you're not the man I married. You don't have the fire, you don't have the fun, you don't have the energy, there's something wrong, and and you're not telling me what's wrong. So that's leaving me a lot to guess about what's happening, about what's wrong with me, why you don't like me, why you might be engaged in something else, or whatever the possibilities or the things are. I, on the other hand, being a pleaser, being more an extrovert, wouldn't know. I'm the nicest guy. Everybody, oh, Chris is the nicest guy, right? That's and praise God, as far as redemption is concerned, that's one of the things that my kids will say today, my grown adult kids, right? Well, that how kind I am, which is what my goal. I want to be kind, not nice. Nice is about me.
There is a difference.
There is a difference.
Yes.
And so you wouldn't know. You just be thinking, okay, because I am outgoing and I'm talking, and Jamie's a little more introverted, although people don't believe it. But she's like you. She's like, okay, people doubt. Let's go.
Yeah. It's time to bounce.
Yeah. This has been fun, but not that fun. Go. And so it's interesting to be able to point out or pick out, because that's what's probably what there is not a sign to look for or something to see, because a lot of it is the internal motivations. What is it that they're, why is that person doing what they're doing? And for a lot of the pleasers or the passive people, they don't want conflict. They don't want to stir up waves. And so what do I need to do not to stir up waves? And pleaser people on that side, right? Let's keep everybody happy. Where are the smiles? Everybody got smiles today? Okay, yeah. Then all is good. I could be, could be at peace. But but if there's emotion, and then that starts creating waves and it's uncomfortable, then I don't know what to do with that, because it stirs up the emotion in me that I don't know what to do with. And so then it's just, starts to fall apart. Then I burst out and I'm all angry because, I don't know what else to do with my emotional state. And then my wife goes, where's that come from? Why have you been holding all this in and not sharing with me? Here's a breakdown of trust.
Yeah.
Because you don't trust me. You don't tell me how you feel. You don't. So you were okay with that, last week, but you're not okay with it now. So you're lying to me now, or were you lying to me then? And also, how do I know what you're telling me now is the truth, and I'm not going to hear about it later? So there really is. So you think I'm just being nice. I'm just trying to get along, go along to get along, but I'm causing issues that I don't foresee because it's nice. It's not kind. I'm not doing the things that God's asking me to do. I'm not stepping into the things that I need to be stepping into because my own discomfort.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I like that. I'm curious. So I want to hear clearly how you, you know, I'm trying to think of what evolved. It's not
Yeah.
evolved,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm getting at.
How did you fix you?
Yeah, how'd you fix yourself? Um,
Yeah.
but also, I just clearly, you know, before I say this question, clearly, people, all of us have issues, and that
Hmm.
doesn't
Oh yeah.
mean that it's a salvation issue, right?
Mm-mm.
If we're all
No.
following Christ, like this doesn't mean it's a salvation issue where if you're dealing with something, it's not that you're not saved, that you
Yeah.
don't
Great
believe in
point.
Christ, right?
Great point.
Because the next question I have is, how was your relationship with Christ during this?
Yeah.
Like, because you just said, you know, I wasn't doing what God was, you know, telling me to
Hmm.
do or wanting me to do. You know, because if you, like we've said in past episodes, and we'll preach all the time, like open the Bible, like God tells you this is what you need to do
Yeah.
as a man of God. Like these are the things you need to do. And yes, there's not like, you know, a chapter in Luke that lists it, but you just read the Bible and it tells you, here, you're a man of God, like, and you're a husband and you're a father, like these are things you need to do.
Hmm.
And being a control person, being dealing with anger,
Hmm. Hmm.
being passive,
Yeah.
overly aggressive, all those things can hinder that.
Yeah.
But it's
Absolutely.
almost like you need a balance of all of those.
No, definitely. And and I love that what you're saying is, because it's not just spelled out. It's not like, okay, chapter 2 here, do this. But the
Yeah,
principles
right.
are
That'd be
low.
amazing.
It would be amazing. But it's loaded. It's loaded with
Yeah.
it. And look, we didn't start out as believers.
Mm,
Unlike your story, right? I didn't come to Christ till almost 29. So it was it
mhm.
was 1999. It almost seemed trite, like it was almost 2000. So you're like, I better get saved.
I better
Um,
do this. This is it.
this is it, last chance. But but it was really is one of those things that was kind of far into the relationship. Already had all our kids. Already had my vasectomy. Um, maybe I should have edited that out. But
Toss
anyway,
that in there. Throw that in there.
toss that in there.
Let us know. I was curious. That was my next question.
Yeah. But so I came to Christ, and so I was already in this, we already had this dynamic that was going on that wasn't working, and Jamie knew that, it wasn't working as far as there was problems, because I liked being on that pedestal, right? Especially at the beginning of the relationship, it fed, and we both fed this brokenness where I wanted to be on the pedestal and I was her knight in shining armor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a mere mortal, and that's not a weight that we're supposed
Yeah.
to carry for each other. That's a weight that God carries. So I
Yeah.
can't be her savior. And so that pedestal got taller and taller and smaller and smaller.
Mm.
And it became more like a scene in an Indiana Jones movie where where you take the wrong step and spikes are flying out.
Yes.
And then eventually there's a big boulder that just comes and just so it's because you realize, I mean, it was one of those things. I was realizing, hey, this is getting more and more precarious, and it's going to be a bigger fall. So coming to Christ was absolutely a saving grace, or
Yeah.
a turning point, because then once starting to read about what God wants, like let your yes be yes or no be no, or all else is from the
Mm.
evil one. So
Yeah.
then I wouldn't say yes to just please, right? Because well, if I say no, she could get mad, right? She likes when I say yes. I got to say yes, even if it was something that I knew I wouldn't be able to accomplish,
Mm. Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
Hey, can you knock that out for me today? Oh, yeah, yeah. And knowing that, well, I don't know. And then at the end of the day, it's like, hey, were you able to do that? No, I wasn't able to do that. Well, you told me that you were. So now being a man, of
Mhm.
character,
Yeah.
that does what I say that I'm going to do. And then it'd be a fight. Well, I'm busy. You know that I do this. Well, I can't take care of all this. Then why did you say yes?
Yeah.
Right? Why did you say yes? And then I started learning about boundaries as well, which is look, guys, this is a godly concept. Even
Yeah.
think about the 10 commands. The first two
Yes.
commands are about how we have boundaries with God. God's like, look, don't have other gods, just have me, right? This is a
Yeah.
boundary. You can have me or you can have them, but you can't have both. right? That's a boundary. And, and not have idols, right? Then the other 8 are, how do we relate with other people? How do we have boundaries? Don't take their stuff. Don't kill them.
Don't kill them.
Yeah. This is like, how do we have boundaries? How do we relate with each other? Where do we end and the other person begins? And so, there's these lessons that I was learning about that through these principles and being able to apply them to my own marriage, and not, and saying the things that were kind, because 1 Corinthians 13, 4b, right? Love is kind. It's not nice.
Yeah.
And so, I learning, okay, well, because I had patient down. That was fine until you pushed me. And then until you told me that I wasn't being nice. And then, but then, or you're my kid doing what my wife did, so, and then, so kind, and then realize, okay, I'm not doing the kind things. I'm this stuff that I'm doing was for me and not for other people. And so I had to get okay with being not okay. I had to remember what God said about me and my worth, and not put it on my wife to try to fulfill my worth. Not feeling that, because, a lot of passive, especially pleasers, feel that, hey, look, my best isn't good enough. So I'm just waiting for my wife to shoot that down, all that. Well, you know what? Not her job. She can shoot that down, but God's already assigned my worth. Jesus already said, I love you this much. That I'm doing this. There's no greater love. And so I'm doing this for you, knowing all the things you've done and all the things you'll do anyway. And so this was, a lot of wake ups. It was a stage. It was a step. I'm still in recovery, so to speak, because the Epcot episode happened post Christ. It was Chris. What was it? Not BC, but with Christ. Anyway. So, there were things, and so I'm learning, and then shared that afterwards. And so it got spoken about. And then, so now there's more. And so next time we went to Epcot, did the same thing, but did it because by talking to everybody, and everybody knew that, well, no, actually I do want the sushi. It did actually work out. I want to do that this time. So there was a lot more to it, but it was a road. It was, learning all these things and having to put them in practice daily. Dying to that old self, that old way of wanting to do it, and being intentional about it, and talking to my wife, and not being scared about her reactions. Jamie said something awesome one time. She said, look, I'm a big girl. You might say something that upsets me, but I'll get over it. It's not my job to help her not get upset. It's my job to be there for her when she is upset. It's my job to try not to do things.
Well, you don't want to intentionally upset your spouse, but you will upset them. How is it? So she's learned now, because she knows all this, she's learned too how to communicate with you too. Like even the Epcot thing, like you just brought up, like now so clearly she has learned like how to ask you questions. Like, is there, but is it like, are you sure? Like, have you gone through that where it's like, hey, do you want this? Yeah, I want it. Well, are you sure? I'm sure I told you, but are you really sure? Kind of like, is it one of those, where eventually she's learned like, no, he's saying he's sure. That means he's not, he's not just pleasing everyone. This is really what he wants to.
That's great. She is, there's that balance, because I'm married, so she learns how can I help you, kind of a thing. And so absolutely, she's like, all right, is this really where you want to eat? It's okay if you want to go someplace else. That's, or hey, look, just tell me if you have someplace in mind where you want to go, just go ahead and say it. Because sometimes she does say, look, it seems like you have someplace in mind. And I have to tell her, really, I didn't. Or I'll say, there's a couple places, but I'm not big on them. I've thought about them, but it's not something I really, so I am looking for input. But the responsibility, and that's helpful. It helps me to grow. Yes, there were times where, are you sure? Are you sure? But I brought that on myself. So I can't get upset. I can't get upset with her to, needing reassurance. Because I created the problem. I need to be part of the solution. And for however long that takes, because it's not like I was just doing it a couple times.
It is rebuilding a trust.
It absolutely is
right?
rebuilding a trust. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
that respect, that trust, that being that consistency,
Mhm.
and even being transparent and sharing things that I didn't need to share, that, where it's like, hey, yeah, this was what was going on in my head. This is what I was thinking. This is what I was worried about. And then that way, so Jamie's able to, go, oh, okay, he's sharing these things with me, in knowing that I may or may not be upsetting to me.
Yeah.
And so I can trust that the things that are not a big deal, that he'll share things as well.
Yeah.
Being faithful in the little things, helps me, so all these principles, so it helps me be more trustworthy in the bigger things.
I think that's where so many dudes drop it, or men drop it, where they've caused the problem, right? And then when they're trying to fix it, or doing everything quote unquote right, and they are doing it right, they're trying to like recover, right, and get closer to their wife, and grow the stronger family, grow the stronger marriage, all based on God, hopefully, right? But I think where they miss it is, like what you said, you created it. So you were okay with the reassurance. Like in my story, I created all that.
Yeah.
So I was okay with the, no privacy, or whatever it was that I needed to do to reassure my wife that I'm all in. This is what I want. These are the steps I told you we were taking. This is what I need to do. Like, I'm fine with doing that. And I've seen a lot of dudes that they have this like wall where they're like, I've already said that I'm all for this, and then I'm changing. Like, why do I need to keep reassuring them? And they say that, and then they say, and when does it stop? And it's like, one, you have to keep reassuring because you did this.
Yeah.
Like, and when does it stop? I don't know. It's different for every spouse.
Yeah.
I don't know when it stops. Like, it just, one day you'll realize that it's not happening anymore.
Yeah. One day the trust will be restored. One day God will have redeemed it enough that the anxieties were taken away, the insecurities, that what's being said is really being, is what's meant. And so I can trust that, in my husband again, from all the times that I knew about and I didn't know about, that I had no idea about, was anything else was going on. And it just hit me out of the blue. So if that can hit me out of the blue, and how I need to make sure that what's going on now is something that's going to be, I can be okay with, that I can go forward with. So, so guys, if you're not, if you're a passive husband, there's hope, there's things to do. What not to do is stay passive, is to stay in that, because that's not where God wants you to be. That's not what's going to be good for yourself. It's not going to be what's good for your marriage or your family. I almost want to say, if nothing else, selfishly, do it because it's not the place. You're not happy in this. You're not, you're not feeling like you're doing what God wants you to do, and you're pulling back into that corner, into the spotlight, and it's uncomfortable. So do uncomfortable, but do it with a purpose, right? Do hard on purpose, create better habits, godly habits, that honors God, and it's his way. Because honestly, it does work. It makes you a better man. It makes you, keep you from being that average man. So we're going to, so we want you to, reach out to us. Certainly follow us on the episodes, because we're going to have more stuff we're going to be talking about. We're absolutely going to be jumping into, Brad alluded into his story. If you're not following him and his wife on Unrelenting Pursuit, and haven't heard his story, you're going to hear it here. But if you want to hear more from us, definitely make sure you're following us, making sure that you're keeping up with us. Send us emails. We have an email box now. It's email@notyouraverageman.com. And you let us know your feedback. Let us know what you want to hear, what's on your mind. Keep being better than your average man.